Hey everybody! I just finished another book in the Graveyard School series. This is Boo Year's Eve. Let's take a look at this awesome cover art. Very cool. You got these fancy ghosts sitting at a dinner table. You can't see any of their body parts or hands, face, or anything. Yeah. Um, this is going to be kind of a different review because it's going to be the same but different. If you notice, there's no background because this is literally about the only book in my library at the moment, or my old library. For those of you who don't know, I'm moving, and I have everything moved. So this might be my last book review here. I've still got like another week here, and I'm gonna be cleaning and stuff. But I have been reading during breaks and different things like that. Moving is a lot of work, and I don't really have a lot. Like I mostly just have books. But yeah, there's a few other odd and ends things that I gotta move. But yeah, so if this is the last book review here in this house, yeah, I got some really cool memories of this house. So yeah, and one thing I wanted to point out too, this book is an incredibly rare book. All of the Graveyard School books are kind of rare, but this one is really rare. Never see it pop up, and I actually have a funny story on how I got this book. So I had this book on my wish list on Thrift Books for years, and it popped up one day for like $7. So I bought it. I was like, I need it. I don't have that one. And a friend of mine posted on Facebook, hey, I'm looking for Boo Year's Eve. Somebody bought it from under me on Thrift Books. And I was like, oh. And I replied in the comments. I was like, that would be me. This guy happened to be 90s Kids Library over on Instagram. One of the greatest collectors ever. And yeah, he told me he wanted to trade with me. He said, I might have some stuff you're interested in. I was like, oh, what do you got? And he actually had Fear Street Seniors, Spring Break, and One Last Kiss from Fear Street Sagas. And I don't remember which one I traded him, but one of them I bought, and then the other one I traded because I needed both. And so yeah, I think it was One Last Kiss that I traded this book for, which is like $100 book. So again, huge shout out to him. And he told me that if he ever runs across this book again, he'll hit me up. And he did. And I'm talking, this was like a month later, he had this book in his possession. I bought it or traded it to, I don't remember exactly, but yeah. So I'm very thankful to have this book. And yeah, very thankful to have really cool friends and stuff in the community that do this kind of stuff. But yeah, the story itself follows this girl named Jordy. She is being invited to a New Year's Eve party by her friend, or her frenemy. Well, actually, pretty much enemy. She doesn't like Pollyanna at all. Pollyanna is this like goody two shoes girl that makes straight A's and is teacher's pet and all this stuff. And Jordy's the opposite. She's very sarcastic, very, very funny. A genuinely really great protagonist from the series so far. So she invites her to this party. She doesn't want to go. She says there's no way. So she's at home one day. She gets a phone call. She goes to answer it, and it's Pollyanna's mom. She wants to talk to Jordy's mom. And Jordy's mom basically, after she gets done with the phone conversation, makes Jordy go to a party. And she said, we're going to get you a fancy dress and all this cool stuff. So they're driving. They can't find one, and the mom like merges into traffic, and they end up at this thrift store where this creepy guy sells her this dress that Jordy is actually surprised that she actually really wants to wear. We cut a few chapters later, and it's kind of random, but her and her sister named Jessica, they are with their grandparents, or leaving from their grandparents, and they're like catching buses to get home, and they got one more bus to go before they get home. And Jordy's hoping that they miss it so she doesn't have to go to the stupid party. So she tries to miss it, but it doesn't happen. They end up getting on the bus anyway after stalling for time and in the bathroom. And there's a snowstorm, and it's really cold outside. And they end up on the side of the road. The bus gets stranded. So the bus driver tells everybody out, y'all gotta find y'all's way back or whatever. Or we're gonna have to walk and go to the nearest station or something. So all the people start walking out, and Jordy ends up getting lost, and she loses her sister and her friends, and she ends up at this house throwing this New Year's Eve party, and weird things start to happen. She starts noticing that there's this little girl like following her around, different things like that. She knows she could see through some of these people and different things like that. And I know this sounds interesting, but this part slowed it down for me. I mean, there wasn't It wasn't very fast paced. It was very like slowly discovering, these people were ghosts. And then she sees through somebody like on chapter like 5, and it's like chapter 10 where she's like, "Oh, they're ghosts." And I don't know. I didn't really love that. This reminded me a lot of there's a April Ghouls Day book that in the series that did about the same thing. Like, we knew as a reader that what was going on, they were swapping bodies, but it took the protagonist the whole book to realize what was going on. And yeah, that's basically what happens here. Not much. I mean, the ending is really cool. We do get a little slight background of what happened involving a staircase with this house or whatever. But other than that, this book was not amazing. There is some good imagery, like where this ghost girl comes into the bathroom and she like sticks her tongue out at her and runs. They're like, it's kind of creepy. And towards the end, different. Towards the end, there is some really cool stuff, and there's this like a random scene where this snake plant thing like goes under the door to try to get Jordy, and it's yeah, very nightmarish and different things like that. And it's towards the end, it has a certain trope that I don't like, but it kind of reverses itself with a certified like, hey, this really happened or whatever, which I really liked because they did that in the Fright Before Christmas in this series as well. So yeah, this book was okay. I mean, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't one of my favorites. There in this book there is this like a party to do at New Year's thing, and it's basically Halloween stuff. I mean, there's really no New Year's party stuff. That's another thing too. There's really not like a big New Year's themed part in this book. There's some cool stuff dealing with time and stuff like that, but yeah, overall, New Year's Eve, I'd probably give it like a 3 out of 5 stars, but I give it like a low 3 out of 5 stars. Wasn't one of my favorites. It definitely had its slow parts, but it definitely has some creepy parts to add along. I also want to point out that there is some nostalgia here. When they're on a school bus and they're driving down the road and it's really dark, you can't even see anything. I remember as a kid, when time changed back, we used to get on the school bus and it would be so dark. And I used to read on the school bus all the way till we got to school. And that just, it reminded me of that. And I don't know how in the world I read when it was like completely dark outside, because I don't remember the bus like having like bright lights or anything. Maybe they did. I just don't remember. But yeah, that, and then there's some scenes where they're like in class and it's like dark outside or something. There's something there too that I wanted to mention, but I don't remember exactly. But yeah, New Year's Eve, 3 out of 5 stars for me. Not an amazing book, but has some good moments. If you're looking for this book for your collection, I do recommend you getting it. If you're looking for something really, really fun to read and stuff, I'd probably say skip this one. I mean, it's not, you're not missing anything if you miss it. I mean, it's okay. There's really no graphic stuff in it or anything like that. No push the envelope kind of scares or anything. It's just a simple story. The writing again here was a little weird. Graveyard School writing is a little bit different than these other middle grade books. But yeah, I rambled on long enough. This is 3 out of 5 stars from you guys. Thank you. Bye bye.